I couldn't tell you exactly when, but probably somewhere around 5, 6 years ago, I noticed if I had a very flour-rich meal in the evening or afternoon or lunch or dinner, the next day, the first few footsteps out of bed, almost unbearable.
Stewart, how did you find Carnivore?
I sort of went through a process over a number of years of starting looking at fitness and diet and such, involved with eating better and keeping control of my weight, and sort of became a YouTube and podcast addict, and listened to a lot of people, read a lot of, or listened to a lot of audiobooks, and went through a process where probably the best summation of the evolution of it was I started doing things like going keto and doing fasting. Probably fasting was the thing that led me down a path where I sort of discovered what worked for me and what didn't. And I had health issues in the past that I thought were sort of incurable, or things that I just had to live with, and noticed some very distinct patterns with my eating and a lot of joint problems that I was having. So probably around about 5 years ago, I was doing some long fast, up to a week at a time. I would do sort of a week fast, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and I would sort of do regular 2-day fasts, maybe once a month, and quite often just throw in a day here or there. And I found, in terms of being able to, I guess the term people use is, fat adapted, and being able to live off myself rather than having to stick some more carbs in my body every few hours, became quite obvious to me at one point, where I enjoyed the freedom of being able to do that. I lead a fairly active life. I work physical job, and other jobs in the past, and my activity levels in terms of going to the gym, and I swim and things like that, sort of go up and down year to year, month to month, season to season, and a long time ago, I had sort of, I guess it'd be a bit of a vague diagnosis with ankylosing spondylitis. I'd been a very competitive swimmer when I was very young. Then I had jobs where I did a lot of physical activity. Then I worked out a lot. I was a bit of a gym head in my 20s. And then when I got into my 30s, I found I was getting aches and pains, in particular my lower spine. I had a lot of, every day I'd wake up, I just felt stiff and sore, and I used to feel like if I just rest it, it'll get better. And it just went on and on and on. And the more I rested, the worse things got. And I found that as long as I got up each day, just pushed through that first 5 minutes in the first hour, then I could sort of get on with my day, and didn't have too many issues. And I still was pretty functional. And one day I thought, I'll go to the doctor and see if you can fix this bad back. Maybe I've got a disc something or other, muscle strain, or it's my posture, or and the doctor said, "Oh, we'll send you for some blood tests." And I kind of, there was a lot of stuff I didn't know, and this is, well before we had access to information through the internet in the way we do today. I mean, the internet existed, but I had a blood test returned. I had, HLA-B27 gene, which put me in the, you know, in the possibility of having ankylosing spondylitis. So I got sent off to rheumatologist and MRIs and like sacroiliac joints and all those sort of things, and then was put on a course of anti-inflammatories. And the rheumatologist at the time sort of said, you can keep taking anti-inflammatories, you probably end up with a stomach ulcer, or given that you're in your 30s, the likelihood that you've got to a point age-wise where your immune system is going to get weaker and weaker, and you might not suffer really bad consequences from it, and you can just live with it. And I chose to just live with it, and I sort of went through years and years. I just found, in my head, I thought, oh well, as long as I keep active and keep doing things, keep working out, swimming and walking and all those things, that I should, keep it at bay and not end up with, fused spine and all that. And it wasn't till maybe a few years later I talked to I used to see a chiropractor again, because I used to constantly feel like I needed my back adjusted and all those things. Who was also a naturopath, and he sort of brought up that maybe it's immune system related, that there's a spectrum of these things, and that maybe you look at some alternative things, some herbal remedies and the like. And I tried a few things and nothing really seemed to work for me. But I couldn't tell you exactly when, but probably somewhere around 5-6 years ago, I noticed if I had a very flour rich meal in the evening or afternoon or lunch or dinner, the next day, the first few footsteps out of bed, almost unbearable. The pain in my feet used to be so bad that I guess most days I would eat sandwiches and pizza or pasta, or it was so constant that I never had times where I wasn't experiencing it. And I just thought that was me. And until I started doing things like fasting, that I realized that it used to go away. And it wasn't until I had a Friday night pizza that Saturday morning I couldn't stand up again. So at first I thought I was a bit crazy, and then I started, with the access to people on the internet, asking some questions and hearing people's opinions, and started hearing that some people have issues in relation to starch and ankylosing spondylitis, that there's maybe a correlation with some stomach bacteria that produce things in your body and do things. So, I'm not here to tell people that this is decided in the science of it all, but I know that for myself, a big bowl of chips or a pizza gives me knee aches, back aches, feet aches, and then I guess probably 2 or 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago, I started hearing more and more about carnivore. I couldn't tell you exactly which person out there sort of led me down a path. I think it's probably more of a combination of bits and pieces and just a repetition. And I guess a really big one nowadays that I wish I had back then is the likes of yourself, Dave, with I watch your videos and I go, it's me. That's me. That's me. Like the people that come on, there's so many of the things, and that's part of why when you put a call out for people to sort of offer their experiences, I thought I would come on and say to people, maybe it's worth a try. Doesn't matter who I speak to in my daily life, I still don't meet anyone who goes, yeah, it sounds like a great idea to go carnivore. and I heard one recently where you yourself are talking about, but I'm Japanese, it won't work for me, that sort of thing, where people go, oh yeah, but I couldn't because my stomach, or I couldn't cope with that much meat, or um, and people who have health issues, digestive issues, skin issues, joint issues, and I tell them and they still don't want to hear it, but I'm hoping that if I help one person to avoid, what for me's been sort of 20 years of holding me back in a lot of ways in my life, that, if I help one person, well, that's great. And, I thought I'd throw it out there to come on and have a bit of a chat. And if someone makes sense out of what I say, then great. If not, there's nothing lost, So I guess, like with anything, diet-wise and lifestyle, I have had, it's come and go in waves in terms of being carnivore and exclusively carnivore, and then part-time, and sometimes carnivore with a bit of fruit. And I hear a lot of different versions, even from, just trying to think, people like Paul Saladino and the likes, who go one way and then they regress back another. And I guess it comes down to, what works for people. And I'm always happy to try anything. And I guess the biggest struggle I find with carnivore is fitting lifestyle, and also fighting all those things that control us in our brains, and fitting it in my life. I haven't been full carnivore for more than 3 months at a time. I've done a bunch of stints at a month. I sort of periodically set myself I'm going to go this month, and I do it. And I have all the excuses of why I don't continue it. And then I feel the pain down the track, and I think to myself, I just need to keep at it. I have a child who likes to eat more a vegetable based diet. I have a partner who loves a carb or two, and fitting in with those things. And also, personally, I find that a little bit just sends me down a path of not being able to sort of control where I'm at with it. So I've just had a nice long holiday away, and I found it quite difficult on holiday, up through Asia, Malaysia, and Indonesia, and different sort of things available in terms of diet. I did find that very difficult. I think that any length of time in places like those, it would have to be a lot of planning around being full carnivore.
Yeah, when you're in a tourist destination, it can be pretty tough sometimes. Like, yeah, the last time I was overseas, it was relatively easy, but that's because I was based in the middle of the city in Sydney.
Yeah,
So, it was easy enough to go out and get a steak for lunch and dinner and stuff like that. It's the only obstacle there was so expensive, but,
yeah. Well, that's another factor in there. But I love food. I've just, like I said, been through Malaysia, and the food was just phenomenal. Like places, like Penang and the like, and it's just, I threw it all out the window for the last month, and just enjoyed the food as entertainment. I sort of look at it like, sometimes food is entertainment, and there's sacrifices to be made from making that choice. But you know, I think my experience with the cost of going carnivore, um, I find when I do the sums, when I actually sit down and work it out, the actual cost, the time it takes to shop, the ease of and the speed with which I prepare meals, you know, it might cost me a little bit per kilo at the counter, but in terms of time saved and life that gives me back, not having to chop and prepare and cook and do all those things. A steak in a pan in 5 minutes, I can pull it out of the fridge and have it cooked and eaten before you could peel a pile of potatoes. So uh, when you look at the cost of meat, and there are affordable options, minced meat and lamb and things, and I'm sure it varies across the world for what people pay for meat, but it is quite reasonably expensive for nice quality meat here in Australia, but it's not out of the realms for most people. And I think once you do factor in that you're not putting this and that, and you've got to get some fruit and veggies and all those things that make up everything, I think it's quite comparable. Is my experience. So,
Yeah. So I'm interested, like when you are doing carnivore,
yep.
um, what does the pain completely go away? And
Um,
um, when over the last month, when you've had this kind of the break where you've been on holidays, have you noticed pain returning?
Off for sure. Yep. One of the things that I'd love to have a long enough life to individually work through is what things sort of do worse damage to me, and it's quite difficult when you eat 3 meals in a day and you've mixed a whole bunch of things in each meal, and you wake up the next day with sore feet. It's hard uh, to pinpoint exactly what it is. So I've started again, and I'm going full carnivore. And I'm going to see how it goes in terms of where I'm at with the pain, which mostly subsides almost completely. I'm 53 years old. I, like I said, I led a very sporty and very physical um, life, and I have aches and pains, I'm sure, that are due to those things as well. So sometimes it's hard to determine, and I think some of the damage is done in some respects, and may be able to be over a longer period than what I've given it in the past to rectify some of those issues. Fusion of like sacroiliac joints and those sort of things that whether that's permanent the rest of my life. Exactly what goes on in my feet, which is a really painful one for me, whether that's just connective tissue that doesn't like to stretch, or there's inflammation that can just quickly be rectified. I guess it's on myself to perhaps extend things out for a longer period of time and work out exactly maybe what brings it in. I actually the last thing I did when I came back from holiday, the first night back, my partner said, "Let's go out to Vietnamese for dinner," and I did, and enjoyed a lovely meal with a lot of rice and the like, and it was probably the worst that I've felt, even though I just spent the best part of a month in Southeast Asia eating Asian food with similar ingredients. So again, whether it's something that we add here in my part of the world, whether it's the cooking oils and the like, is another question I'd sort of love to go down the path. I'm pretty adamant with my use of seed oils and the like. I haven't really used seed oils for a very long time. I couldn't tell you exactly, but I've always been a butter user, and even I've got experiences with those things. I've committed to myself to maybe giving it a bit more than I'll go for 3 months, and I'll see how it goes, and try and extend it out past that as well.
And how is your family with this when you're doing this? Are they okay? Are they just kind of, oh, you do what you want to do, Stuart. We'll do what we want to do.
Yeah, it does. You know, I have a teenage son that's, like I said, he's keen to. You know, I used to cook up steak and then cook him steak and some chips or something, um, or I do a lot of curries and things just with some rice and the like, to introduce some vegetables back there to keep him happy. But I think I'm just maybe going to have to do a little bit of encouraging my son to fend for himself. He needs to start maybe cooking some meals and work with me, and occasionally just doing other meals on the side. He's only with me half the time. His mother has him the other time, and funnily, she's probably the only one person in my life. We're very good friends, but she's sort of gone down the path of carnivore as well. She's probably the only one person, and I don't think it's. I think she's come at it from a sort of keto direction, being trying to get fit for a few years, and doing a very good job, and losing some weight. And yeah, the last meal I went out with her, with all our combined families, was to a meat restaurant where we all ordered meat and more meat, and so I guess that sort of just gives me a little bit of defence with some of the other people in my life. My partner, I'm not sure 100% sometimes what she thinks of me. I know all of her family sort of know that I do these things, and we all interact a lot. We go away some weekends and here and there, and they all go, "Oh, that's right, you're carnivore. Do you want a sandwich?" Like, it sort of doesn't always hit home. I shouldn't. I mean, I made that up, but it's sort of on that sort of scale where they see it and they understand it, and I think they don't always um, appreciate fully that it means I don't eat the other stuff. And yeah, so, but no one says you're crazy, or at least not to my face. So ultimately, it doesn't really bother me too much. I know, I've turned into the grumpy old man who voices his opinions as opposed to keeping them these days, and I don't like to upset people, but I don't worry what they think as much as probably what I did when I was younger.
So you're going to go for it from today for at least the next 3 months, see how you go.
So I started yesterday. Like I said, I came back from a holiday 2 days ago and went out to dinner and woke up with the sore feet, and I went, I think I'm done. And I knew we'd scheduled this appointment to have a bit of a chat, and it's been on my mind from quite some time. I think we lined this up maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, and probably maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I've had the discussion in my mind for a long time, and I think I sort of owe it to myself. I enjoy it. I could eat meat at every meal, and I find I don't get bored with it. I just enjoy it. So that's not an obstacle for me. The entertainment side of things and the convenience sometimes when you're out and about is something I struggle with, and probably my other struggle is probably dairy. I think I need to cut dairy out while I do this. That's my intent, because I find that's a bit of a gateway drug for me in terms of as soon as I've had a glass of milk? Why can't I just have some cream in my coffee? And then why can't I just goes on and on, and some yogurt, and the next thing you know, I'm really feeling like something else, and that's a real driver for me. I find with you know, one piece of chocolate's not enough, and the whole block's still not enough. I
Yeah.
can't sort of start and stop. I don't know if it's personality trait or if it's a biological driver or what it is. So I find that for me, I need to take the decision making out of it, and I've never been a good dieter. If I've ever had to lose weight, there's no diet that works for me ever, because can't decide where the right point is to stop. And I've had a hard workout today. I might just have a bit more and a bit more, and well, we've had that much, we may as well eat the whole bucket of ice cream. And so that in itself, just the reduction in choice for me is sort of key, I think, to regaining a bit of control over some of the issues that I have. And yeah, I just don't want to find out in another 20 years that arthritis and the like that could have been avoided. I've rekindled a bit of a passion for playing the guitar badly, I might add, but hands and fingers is another thing that I feel it. It's not quite like in my feet. I don't have to stand on my hands, and so you can sort of be inactive with your hands. And until I start using them, like, this is hurting, that's hurting, and I just really keen to be able to continue that and all the other things in my life into the future. So that's for me. That's a big one for me. And people that know me know I'm a little bit obsessed guitar-wise, and not for any purpose other than I just enjoy doing it. And I would hate to lose that, just to be able to have some chips with my steak. So
Yeah. I mean, it's great to have those things like the guitar, because that's a motivator, right?
yep.
That's something that can keep you on track. Yeah. So Stuart, I'd really like it if you could perhaps come back on in 3 months and let us know how you're doing.
Yeah,
It'd
for
be great
sure.
to get an update.
I've
But
pondered another accountability I find for myself, either documenting in some way or just keeping track of how it's going, or if it doesn't work, where I failed, even as a way to try again and work out what doesn't work. And yeah, hearing other people's stories, I think there's different reasons why things don't work for people, and I think that's something worth exploring for me. But yeah, I'd love to come back and be here telling you I've lost the 5 kilos that I might have gained over the last few months, and be pain free, and not go off to work first day back after a holiday with a sore knee and those sort of things that just shouldn't happen if it's just through diet choices.
so in the meantime, do you have a way to reach out to you? Do you have any social media or anything if people want to get in contact?
Accounts. I mean, I'm happy for you to attach an email if anyone wants to drop me a line and ask how I'm going. I'm more than willing to share with people, encourage people.
I'll put your email in the show notes below. Stuart, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Look forward to catching up with you in 3 months.
No worries. Thank you, Dave.